Welcome back to another episode of Feathers and Field Goals. I'm your host, Bryce Leslie, joined by Dan Steenkammer. Dan, I can't talk to start the episode. Dan, feels good to be consistently recording again, doesn't it?
Yes. Everything's blooming, or maybe not everything yet, but I feel like this new studio for us, our recording studio, is in bloom. It's been fun to see you get used to all the new keystrokes and things like that on the back end, setting us up. So, yeah, more importantly, we've got a lot to discuss, so we'll get right into it.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm still learning everything on this studio. That's why I can't get my words together to start. But our first time in the studio, we had a very productive conversation with Delaware Athletic Director Jordan Skolnick about the current state of Delaware basketball. I think my favorite part of that conversation in retrospect was Jordan recognized that these words are just words. The Blue Hens need to prove it on the court next winter. If they sit near the top of Conference USA in resources, then there should be no excuses heading into 2026-27. Need to get wins next year. But that starts with what happens now in the transfer portal. I'm sure when we record our next episode in a couple weeks, we'll have more to update on that front. It's early right now, but the first moves that the men's and women's programs make should show us a lot on or what they want to do stylistically, because both will need to build close to a full, if not if not a full starting five from scratch. So it'll be interesting. We're going to kick that can while we can down the road a little bit later. Later in the episode, we're going to talk about spring sports because we took a little hiatus. We didn't get to cover winter sports live, but we want to make sure we give love to spring sports. But our main meat and potatoes of this episode, let's get into football spring updates. Spring practice has been underway for a few weeks. The Blue Hens are over the halfway point in the practice schedule, only a couple weeks away from concluding their spring slate. Dan, me and you got an opportunity to attend a practice last week, and we'll be excited to be back there this upcoming Saturday with season ticket holders, donors, alumni, and a family of players and staff this upcoming Saturday, April 18th. We have an exciting list of guests that will be joining us to kind of preview getting ready for Saturday, right?
Yes, we do. We got to catch up with Coach Carty, two players, one returnee and one newcomer. So I guess I won't spoil it all right away in the audio format. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It felt like knocking off the rust from Mobile. So it was really cool.
Yeah, if please don't look at the episode description if you don't want to be spoiled on who's on our show. But with that being said, let's just dive into our conversation with Delaware head coach Ryan Carty, where we talk about last season, the focus on retention, staff and player changes, and a quick look into next fall. Back for the first time in 2026. It's been a while, Coach, since you've been with us. Delaware football head coach Ryan Carty joining the show. Coach, I'm sure you're happy to be back into football, and welcome back on the show.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting. It is. I tell you what, it's our profession's pretty cool in that there's a lot of different phases. There's a couple different recruiting phases throughout the year, and yes, recruiting is kind of the whole time, but there's a couple dedicated stops where you have to do certain things and certain types of visits and certain age groups, and then we have some off-season time with our guys, and then when we hit it running in the spring, it's pretty awesome. And obviously going into fall as well, those are some awesome times for us as coaches because we get a chance to kind of lean into the football side of things, which is obviously pretty cool for us being what we do.
I want to dive into the spring and some new faces, some returning faces. But first, just quick reflection on the 2025 season. The first season is done in Conference USA and FBS. Output 7-6 on the season, including a bowl win down in Mobile. Dan and I were down there. It was a fun time for the program and a special way to cap off the first season. Just want to talk about just the output from the season. What were your thoughts on it? And were you proud of the program? And what were some lessons learned going through it?
Yeah, certainly proud. I think that we certainly went into the season, unaware of exactly where we would stack up and how well we would stack up and maybe where some of our deficiencies would be, maybe some of the things that we didn't know about the next level or just this conference in particular that might surprise us as time went on. And I think the pretty cool thing was how our student athletes really kind of embraced the challenge, took everything in stride, kind of, buoyed with the ebbs and flows of the season. And we certainly, weren't as good as we could have been the whole year. And we also never really got too low. And I think that was pretty awesome for our guys. It spoke to the leadership that we had. It spoke to the the preparation and resources that our administration had for us as well, and the support staff, and how well we, could handle moving up in a division. You went from playing one FBS game in a season to playing 13. It certainly is a big drastic change. And so that takes a lot. It takes, the student athletes to be ready for it. It also takes the coaching staff to be prepared for it, but it certainly takes the whole community of Delaware, of Newark, Delaware, and the university and the administration top down to really put the resources in and make sure that we have what we need support wise. And I think that was pretty awesome to see, us come together and do that. And it's also, like you said, what have you learned from it? I think there's a lot of things that we learned, and we're certainly going to put those into place this year. If there was anything where we thought we might be deficient, or anything that we thought we needed to get a little bit better, we certainly have made those corrections if we can. And then, maybe changed a couple of things, that will certainly come up this year with a different schedule. Now, the whole, and who knows, I think there's a court case going on right now. We'll see what our full actual schedule is, but even the one that came out now is different than the one last year as far as days off in between of certain things. And trying to figure out that the weekday slate, could certainly change some things in how we prepare as well.
Coach Carty, it's great to see you. And when Bryce and I visited practice this morning, we heard, it's about the midway point for you guys in spring ball. So how has spring practice gone here so far?
Yeah, we finished practice 9 this morning. So today, is well past the midpoint, actually. We're almost two-thirds of the way through with 15 practices that they allowed us. And it's been really good. It's, it's such a different day and age. We were talking about it this morning. We had, I don't know, 13 freshmen come in. No, 13 transfers, 9 freshmen. I don't know what it is, but basically there's only about 7 scholarship players that signed with us that aren't here right now competing in spring. 6 freshmen and a transfer that will be coming in June. And so that's pretty awesome. So you get a chance to to work with those guys for so long before their freshman season starts or before their first year as a transfer starts. And it gives us that upper hand. And I know that's just kind of college football now. That's not our advantage. That's the advantage of college football. And I, hoping that, obviously you never know with the state of college football, but with only one portal window, what you saw out there today is pretty much going to be our team, minus those couple of guys that are coming in June. So it's been really fun to be able to, really start that development process for the 2026 season. These are practices that we can bank for fall. This is something that, hopefully can give us the upper hand when we have to play a game on 5 days rest. It's that we had the same group of guys that were practicing in April. And so I think that's pretty cool. We've been fighting the elements, which is outstanding as well for us. It's, something we're going to have to play in, come October, November, December here. And so let's bring it.
Well, thinking about getting this group together, a lot of it is returning group. One of the best, and not just Conference USA, but all of G6 and in the country, including eligible starters at every position, 6 of them being all conference people that were recognized in all conference in 2025. This was obviously a priority of the program and belief that the right foundation, the right ingredients were already within the building. And the slogan unfinished business has been taken within the locker room. So why was Delaware so successful in returning all of the pieces that made impacts in 2025?
Well, I think that's obviously a loaded question and a good one, because it does it matters so much to continuity and to having any consistency, and I think to having a championship culture. You're going to need to retain a lot of your best players, and it's not an easy thing to do anymore. I think that it speaks to the university first. I think we do a great job at recruiting the right people here. People that want to develop here, people that want to get coached hard, people that want to go to one of the best universities in the country and get a degree from here. I think that does matter, and when you put in all that work academically somewhere, to transfer somewhere else and lose some of those credits and not have that same diploma when you leave. I think that speaks volumes to our university, and I love that partnership that we have on the academic side down campus. I think also as the grass isn't always greener. I know that's the adage, but two things. One, we have a lot of things that some others don't. And I think that our student athletes, again, like I said, we recruited the right smart kids that know a good thing when they have it and feel comfortable here, feel comfortable being challenged here, feel comfortable being uncomfortable here, know that they're in the right type of spot with the right type of people, and they're going to get developed here. And I think that matters. I also think that we've had the ability to do the right things from our administration standpoint, our general manager standpoint, to help invest in our players, not just through financial resources, but also in developmental resources and support and, facility resources, all the things that we do have here that are pretty special. And, I think lastly, the grass is greenest where you water it. And, if you plant down roots and you get in and put the work in somewhere, probably the best thing to do is to see how that blooms. And so hopefully, we have that, come to fruition when we go out there with the, rolling back a lot of the same players that we did last year. You're right. And I think that's what really helps, win those close games, is having that continuity and experience and trust with the people next to you, because you've seen them do it in a game before.
And Coach, it's pretty early on to be asking about newcomers and how they fit in, people in their first year of Delaware football in 2026. But now that we are over halfway through spring ball, as you corrected, what has been your impression of how the new faces have really been gelling and getting ingrained in the Delaware culture?
It's been great. I think that's one of the things that I'm probably most proud of here, is the way that we indoctrinate our newcomers here, I think, is really great. I think the support staff sets the tone there. The assistant coaches really are in lockstep with each other, and they get their position rooms, which is where a lot of the stuff happens, right? A lot of the camaraderie happens is in those position meeting rooms. I think those guys do a great job at understanding, that there's going to be some sort of acclimation process, but also that it's only for so long, and this is how we do things here, and the leaders are going to be the ones that take care of that as well. And I think in the locker room, our guys do such a great job at understanding that we're only going to win football games if we're doing it with all 105 roster spots that we have. And in this day and age in college football, it doesn't matter where you come from, how old you are, how many schools you've been to, where you're from, what sports teams you like. It don't matter. If you're out there and you're helping us win football games, you're going to help us win football games. And so the faster we get acclimated, the faster we can become a team, the faster our culture can bring along the people that might not understand something, then we're going to be better because of it. Now, on the flip side of that, we also have to recruit the right type of people. And we did, I think. I think another time of our assistant coaches scouring and asking the right questions and finding the right reasons to take somebody and the right reasons maybe not to take somebody in the portal really does help you. And it's not easy to be a true freshman coming in here either. We're talking about guys who haven't been to prom yet, and they're in here, in practice 10, in a spring ball, also in a college atmosphere, living away from home for the first time. There's a lot of those guys on campus right now too. So it does take a lot in the locker room to hold that together. And I'm really proud of the leaders in our locker room for doing that. And I think right now we're coming along and we're gelling, and I think our guys really understand. We had a great winter workout period. I think our guys really understand what we're asking them to do, what we're asking of them culturally and, commitment wise. And then you can see it in spring practice. I think we haven't really had many days that we've been, had down days where it was like, that wasn't a good enough energy. That wasn't a good enough intention today. I think there's been, for the most part, we'd have to nitpick to find those things where it might not have been perfect. And so certainly got a lot of things to clean up. And as we're installing more and more things, there's going to be things that get messed up. There's no doubt about that. But are we making the same mistake twice? And are we bringing each other along and staying dialed in and focused so that we're not wasting reps and learning from other people's mistakes? That's, I think, something that's been going really well. And the newcomers have been a part of that as well.
preparing for 2026 started before 2025 even ended, and you're working multiple burners on the stove at the same time, not just from the player standpoint, but also the staff standpoint. Retention happened throughout the staff. There was some positional movement, but there's also been new pieces added, specifically on the defense side of the ball. If I went through each name, I'd take time away from you. So I'd rather just give you an opportunity to speak about how you feel about how the staff that you've put together has come out onto the spring practice field and into the recruitment, and maybe sharing a little insight onto who some of these new pieces are that the fans haven't met yet, including a new positional group coach on the defense as well.
Yeah, sure. You talk about the Bandits?
Yes, the good
Yeah,
old
no doubt.
Bandits.
And they've always been there. We're obviously we separated it a little bit. I think mainly so that Coach D'Amico, who's done such a great job with our special teams and our linebackers, could continue to add some more responsibility, and we could take some things off of his plate, since he does have that special team side, and also bumping up as a co-coordinator and being a little bit more involved in that side of the game planning process as well. I thought it'd be great, and I think the Bandit is a little bit of a hybrid, obviously, of a safety / linebacker, and so we can certainly find somebody to take that off his hands, and Coach Holly is kind of the perfect guy for that. I think also, adding, bumping up and elevating Theo Brown to assistant special teams coordinator, and getting him that ability as a full-time quality control coach on that side of the ball as a special teams analyst can really help, because he does a great job, and he did a great job for us last year as someone in a lower role. Really added value. And I think that's kind of speaks to the same thing that we're talking about as a team, right? Is how do you do your best to continue to grow and develop the right people in your program, and then elevate them when it's time for them. I think that's why people, do stay places when, they might have some other opportunities, because they understand that they're being valued and treated correctly, and challenged, on a daily basis, and making sure that they're continuing to grow. I know that's the same for me. I want to come in here every day and try to get better at stuff, so that we can become the best team. I think our team as a coaching staff right now is really headed in the right direction. I think we're very close. I think we come in here and challenge each other and challenge the student athletes, but we coach hard, but we love hard as well. And I think, we have a great open door policy around here, and there's kids in here all day, talking craziness sometimes, but also, talking life and talking ball, and making sure that at all times, we're going to spend this much time together. We better be close, and we better understand each other, so that we can continue to hold each other accountable.
On April 18th, it won't be a spring game, or what we had called a spring game in the past, to round out spring ball. But we know the program will welcome in season ticket members, donors, football alumni in for a big day at practice. What are you looking forward to about that? I mean, there's business at hand, obviously. First and foremost, you're doing your job coaching your group, but you'll be able to get together a good group, and maybe some of the viewers and listeners, if they didn't know about it, can come on out and say hello to Bryce and me. We're looking forward to it as well. What are you looking forward to about kind of getting together with that core of people again?
Yeah, well, obviously looking forward to a great practice and an injury-free one. That's always our first and foremost when we go out there and strap them up. And obviously it's always great to have people in town that are coming to support the Blue Hens. That's the thing that this place doesn't lack, is people that care, people that want to come watch, people that want to be a part of, and continue to elevate with us. And I think that's something that I'm looking forward to that day. And I know our student athletes, who don't get a chance to do it in front of people, but 12 times guaranteed a year, they want to make sure that, when they get a chance to do it in front of people, they feel good about it. We had a junior day last week, a ton of recruits on campus. We'll do that again this Saturday. And even those days, they feel a little bit different, right? When there's just people around the practice field, there's a little bit more juice, a little bit more energy. And so I'm assuming it'll be that way 2 Saturdays from now also, when we have that open practice for the donors and season ticket holders. And we'll also have family members at practice that day as well. So it'll be a great atmosphere up there on the practice fields. And I'm looking forward to seeing all the smiling Blue Hen fans and the faces, and the ones we know, and then meeting some new ones.
Was Nick actually the first one to hit a moving cart in years? So we saw that today, that quarterback competition. That was a fun one. That was the
It
first one in a
was,
while.
yeah. I tell you what, it's been almost embarrassing. As good as our quarterbacks have been, we are not good at hitting the cart at the moving pop up on the cart during our quarterback competition that we do a couple of times a year. And so yes, Nick did it. It was for the win too. That team ended up winning by a decent amount of points, but they needed one. They were down one going into it, and he hit the big one worth 5. There's no doubt. So congrats to him. And, I think that's something we, pre-practice every, right after stretch, we do a competition of some sort every day. Today, it happened to be a quarterback competition. So just trying to keep it light, but also compete at all times.
Well, Coach, thanks so much for joining us. It was great to see you out on the field today, and excited to see you back out there when we get some more Blue Hens fans in there with us. So thanks for making some time for us in the spring, and looking forward to seeing the build up to 2026.
My pleasure. Appreciate what you guys do. And I always love talking to you guys. So hopefully we can do it again soon.
Thanks, Coach.
See you.
Good conversation with Coach. Good time to catch up beforehand, and I'm still learning how to get all these videos in this recording studio, but we're making it work. It sounds good. And Dan, I liked Coach's quote. I mean, we know the saying, the grass is always greener. The grass may not be always greener on the other side, but I liked his quote talking about the grass is green where you water it, just talking about the retention side of just bringing everyone back. They felt they had the nucleus to build off of 2025, and 7-6 isn't good enough, but it's a start to get to where they want to be. And it's with this current group in there.
Yeah, that's been the feeling since getting home from Mobile, really. And we know that Delaware had the idea of bringing back as many people as possible, on its mind before the season even ended. So for it to be executed, the coordination across the board, Patrick Callaway, of course, Coach Carty and his assistants, and the support staff who should be mentioned. You think about just nutrition support and academic support, making it so that the experience of Delaware's players in a really a grind of a first season in FBS, it looks like these players' experience was still really positive, across the board. They had the support they needed. And so why necessarily look to jump ship now? There's more to be accomplished, and the record reflects that. There's a step forward that can be made in the record. So, yeah, I definitely think that it was nice to hear it directly from Coach, just the whole idea that, yeah, there wasn't any hesitation, certainly on Delaware's end, about wanting to bring starters back. And then it's just a matter of making it so that it makes sense for everybody in this era. It's a business-like era, but I still think that the players definitely enjoyed their time here in this most recent season, such that why would you necessarily look for anything different? You learn some lessons as a group from going through those battles of the first FBS season. I mean, it's pretty intoxicating. These exciting finishes and those close barn burners at the end of games for Delaware. We know they came up short against Sam Houston on the road, but close home wins too elsewhere in the schedule. I just think those bonds that you make in those kinds of moments too should be mentioned. So yes, you acknowledge the business aspect of it as well in this era, but at the same time, I do think those bonds and the support that comes to Delaware's players from all angles in the Whitney Athletic Center, I think that's all make a big difference.
Well, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about the coaching staff changes. We talked about it a little bit. We wanted to dive into it more with Coach, but we wanted to get everything on his end talking ball, because and you guys don't want to hear us talk too much about it, but we'll take a little bit of time to go through the staff changes in case you haven't seen them. There was some retention, there were some movements internally, and also some external hires. So Dan, I'll let you kind of run through what kind of pops out to you when looking at this list, and I'll kind of scroll down as you talk.
Yeah, thanks, Bryce. Yeah, this is fun to have this kind of screen share component up on the YouTube video for those of you guys checking us out on YouTube and dealing with my face the whole time. That's got to be awesome. But you look at this, I look at Coach Clessidor at corner. So that's a new look in the secondary for Delaware. Actually, the secondary really does have a majority of the defensive assistant movement. If you think about scrolling up to Coach Rojas too, Manny Rojas taking that safety position coaching responsibility, as well as, of course, defensive coordinator and assistant head coaching of the defense. So you get Marvin Clessidor in the building at corner, and his resume really just looks like a classic lead up to a Delaware resume in terms of just his experience in the region. So, and experience with pretty high academic places too. So very excited about that. Coach Ferg, Tyler Ferguson, taking over at tight ends. Great to see him work his way to having his own position room, a veteran, a young veteran, to use that oxymoron, of the Delaware staff. So now he can have tight ends because Garrett Smith will be coaching quarterbacks, which you see on Bryce's screen. Garrett Smith going to coach quarterbacks after Sean Goldrich takes the New Hampshire head coaching job. And Bryce, you and I have said it repeatedly, like now we have a rooting interest in the CAA as far as just looking from afar and pulling for a guy that we got to speak with and know in Coach Goldie. So very nice to see that for Sean Goldrich. And Garrett Smith, it sounded like from the conversation I had that Garrett Smith was always kind of the thought as he can be the successor at the quarterback coach if and when Coach Goldrich earns his next opportunity. The idea was that Garrett would be able to coach QBs. He has that in his background from his playing experience. So that all kind of checks out pretty nicely. Jordan Townsend, great to see Jordan Townsend back in Newark, coming back from UAlbany. And, Jordan adds to this theme of getting some senior analyst titles. I mean, there are analysts at Delaware who have been here and in that role, and now they can move up to a senior level, which, on the edges might seem like it's not a huge deal, but it is good to have those types of titles showing the retention of the staff at that level. Delaware bringing along these young coaches, these young alum coaches like Noah Plack as well. He fits that senior analyst role as well on defense. And what that allows, too, is the next incoming class of analysts can start out at that ground level and also contribute in a big way, of course. But just the existing analysts get to move up a bit in the pecking order, to steal the term that we use on our show. So I kind of flew through that pretty quickly just because it's all on the site. And I'm sure Ed has these bios updated pretty well. But I do think that there's stability, of course, at the top of the coaching staff, but also changes in the defensive secondary coaching group will be something that I think is particularly noteworthy. Just that Coach Rojas does have the overall leadership still, but there are some tweaks there. Outside linebackers in the Bandit group, a successor for Coach Warlow in there as well as Bryce moves back up to see Jared Holly. So that'll be big too, because it's a kind of a tough spot for Coach Holly a little bit in terms of just everybody was really excited to have Coach Warlow back again as well. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't, definitely look forward to what Coach Holly is going to bring also. So I think those are the places I circle. It's mostly on defense is where you circle different tweaks of the staff. Coach Rocco D'Amico taking on certainly a lot of responsibility in terms of those inside backers and the special teams, along with getting a co-DC title. So Coach D'Amico, he could wind up having offers from other places to be a defensive coordinator as a standalone role. That's how much that he's been involved in. And you think about the special team successes of Delaware. Rightfully so. So anyhow, I do think, I guess I bounce around a little bit, but those are just, as you go through the staff, so many familiar names, which is really a positive, I think. But you do have updates in terms of different responsibilities, defensive switches, and also Xavier Dye being a recruiting coordinator after Coach Goldrich headed out up north.
Thanks for that, Dan. It's a big year for the defense overall. I think you maybe saw some changes that were reflective on what they thought needed to be improved for 2025, from 2025 into 2026. So with that being said, let's jump into a conversation with a returning defensive player that has been very experienced. He talked about a young vet, 4 years at Delaware, getting ready for his 5th year. And defensive tackle Dominick Brogna. Dom will be playing a crucial role in the middle of the defensive line for his 5th and final season in Newark. So let's jump into that conversation with Dom right now. Now joining us for the first time on the show, Delaware defensive tackle Dominick Brogna. Dom, thanks so much for taking the time with us this spring to talk some Blue Hen football.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me, guys.
It's your first time on the show, like I said, and I wanted to ask you about the 2025 before we step forward into 2026. It was a big year for the program. We knew about the FCS to FBS transition. A lot of the players on the roster were a part of the FCS recruiting classes, teams. But it was a great, successful first year, 6 regular season wins, a bowl win down in Mobile. Just how was 2025 for you and your perspective?
For me personally, 2025 was a great season. We overcame a lot with different traveling schedules and games during the week, like our Wednesday night and Tuesday night games. It was definitely a different team total, but we capped it off with a great bowl game victory, and it was just a great experience for us all for like those big FBS games like we had against Colorado and Wake Forest, and just it was perfect in my opinion.
Dom, it's great to see you again, and thanks for bearing with us as we were getting connected. I appreciate your time and flexibility on it. And Bryce, just asking you about that reflection on the FBS debut. were there any particular challenges that you faced in your position going up against different types of matchups in the FBS, or what other things might have stood out from the start of the season and to the very end, having played a long and very challenging schedule?
Yeah. One big difference, I believe the O-lines were a lot bigger size. There was like Colorado, they were pretty much like 6'5", 6'6" all across the board. Wake Forest, same thing. They had some big boys all season long, and I think it was a good experience, but it was a grueling experience at the same time. Like your body took a bunch of blows, especially playing on the inside, being a nose guard. Me, as long as Keyshawn and Nick Carica on the inside last season, we took a lot of blows, but we got up, and I think we had a great season.
You're one of many returners on both sides of the ball. Like for you, why was it important to not just start but end your career in Newark?
For me personally, I've always looked this place. Even when I was a kid, I've always loved Delaware. Seeing Joe Flacco, I don't know, there was just something about that helmet. Something about that helmet when I was younger just had me. But I've loved the program here. Every minute has been a blessing for me. And there's just after thinking over, there was no better place for me to end it where I started it.
Dom, when it comes to spring ball here at present, we've been asking guys how spring ball has been going, and I do want to ask you that as a general matter, how the spring has progressed. But then also kind of now that you're a veteran, certainly of the Delaware football program, how quickly can you tell and just assess the vibes and the energy that should be there in spring ball? Coach Carty will talk about, most days, more times than not, the energy is there where it needs to be. But how quickly can you get a feel for, a day's been a strong day that's up to your standards as a team?
Yeah, I think honestly, in my opinion, this has been the most exciting spring for me. I think the team we have this year is going to be really something special, and I'm looking forward to it with the boys. Our defense has been flying around, making plays. The offense, same thing. It's just been like when they're both bashing on both sides of the ball, it's going to be like something's going to be good this year. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Thinking about the defensive side of the ball, we had specifically the trench mob. We had Ethan Saunders on the show before a senior day last year, and he talked about just paying it forward within the room. When he was a freshman, sophomore, all of the defensive linemen that he received tips and just guidance through his career, and he felt honored to be able to be in those shoes to pay it forward. And I think one of the strengths heading into 2025, the first year of FBS, was that defensive line room was very experienced. You're thinking of Ethan, Jack, Keyshawn and Nick, like you mentioned, and James Yelbert as well. And I think now at this point, you're the longest tenured member of the trench mob. So do you feel a sense of pride to now be in those shoes and pass the torch forward for the next group?
Yeah, I definitely feel like I have that old guy status now, which is something you do want to see.
It feels weird, right?
Yeah, it's been different for sure. Then I feel like I'm still a freshman sometimes, but yeah, like Ethan said, paying it forward. Like Ethan and Jack Hall, those were the two guys like when I first came here that were pushing me along, telling me everything to do, how to do it the right way. And now all I want to do is pass it forward to guys on our defensive line like Trey Scott, Caden Singleton, all of our young guys. And it's just great for me to be in a leadership role and to pay it forward, like Ethan said.
Anything you're working on in particular in terms of looking to elevate your game, Dom, for this coming season? It's such a big year and like Bryce was asking you as a leader and going to get more and more time. Certainly we're expecting out there on the field. So is there anything you're looking to level up in this next year of FBS?
Yeah. For me personally, I always think there's something I can always get better at and tinker and work on. For me personally, two big things for me are some of my pass rush moves, fine-tuning them on like my placement with my hands or I'm making a fake at the top or Euro step, just some D-line knowledge in there. And then a second thing for me is having my eyes in our gap. With our defense, it's a big thing to have everybody have 11 hats all in their gap doing the same job at the same time to make our defense work. So a big thing for me is keeping my eyes in there, located in there, and being ready to make a play in another gap if the ball gets there.
Dom, this was kind of the first season where you've had to transition to that weekday CUSA setup. How was that sometimes where instead of playing every Saturday, you're kind of on the same schedule to sometimes you're kind of a couple weeks off or a week and a half off in between? How does that schedule kind of change from that level?
Yeah, it was very strange for me personally. Like even in high school, we didn't have lights, so we always played on Saturdays anyway. So I've been used to just the Saturday grind like every year for about like 5 years now. So going from week to week, it was weird having we'd have our Tuesday practice on a Sunday. So just be like, waking up, I'm like, this doesn't feel right. But
There's NFL games on right now.
yeah. And you'd be trying to run out after practice, try to watch some red zone. It was cool. It was a really good experience, I think. Traveling, getting the trolley traveling part down will be good for us this year, I believe.
And this schedule this year, of course, we know the conference schedule might change. And I think Dan mentioned that earlier, but last year, the October slate was kind of set up where there was some more time off in between games. This year, it might look like there's only 5 or 6 games in between. From a player perspective, do you like that? Like, is too much time off sometimes a bad thing, or do you kind of just want to keep that rhythm going? Especially last year, thinking about that September rhythm that the program had, it's like just keep that rhythm going. You're playing on a short week.
Yeah, for me personally, I like to keep the rhythm going, like you said. I would like to, if there was 20 games this season, we could just play every week. That would be fine with me. I just want to keep the rhythm going. Some off time is obviously good for the body and for the whole team, obviously, and to give us more time to prep for the next team. But I think this year how it's scheduled, we're gonna have a couple games and a match time, but then we're gonna have a break for some time. So it'll be evened down. It'll be good for us.
I know it's hard to ask this kind of question early in calendar year, and it's still, a long ways to go in spring ball even. But from your perspective, you've been at Delaware and in the program long enough. You have a good eye, I'm sure, for who's standing out and really, turning some heads maybe in the spring camp. And are there any younger players or newcomers who you want to shout out and recognize for the effort they've put in so far?
Yeah, I'm gonna give some love to the trench mob right here. I believe our DNs, Caden Singleton and Brandon Gorham, have been showing some eyes a lot. They've been doing a really good job. They're starting to fit into that upper, because they're starting to get older now. So they're fit into that upper class, older leadership tier. For us personally, that's been a huge help to us. Also on the defense side of the ball, you got your usual guys like Gavin Moult, but also for that linebacker room, Colin Gallagher has been doing a great job for us so far this spring.
That's awesome. Excited to see the whole group together once again. And I know there's been some changes on the defensive staff, but that isn't changed is Coach Hawkins. How is Coach Hawkins meant to the Trench Mob? I guess the creator of the Trench Mob, that slogan, and how great is working under him.
Yeah, the founder of the Trench Mob. He's been great ever since he's got here. Like I've told him, he's been one of my favorite coaches I've ever played under. He really gives you the tools to succeed, and he's not gonna baby it for you. He's gonna tell you how it is. And you got to do this, this, and this to get better. And if you do it, you're going to be there. And if you don't, you'll slack off. So he gives us the tools to succeed. And I think for us as a whole, we all love that. And it's been a great experience for us with Coach Hawk.
That's great to hear, because Coach Hawkins, it sounds like he really brings the strong youthful energy too. I mean, he played not that long ago in the grand scheme of things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we talked about the schedule a little bit, and I know you're probably circled on the first one, but trips out to Nashville against Vanderbilt, to Charlottesville against Virginia. You talked about the Colorado game a little bit, but do you have any games circled for next year that you're excited for heading into 2026?
Yeah, obviously those bigger FBS games are always something to look forward to. Obviously Nashville, that's great. Playing against a school that hosted Diego Pavia last year. It's gonna be an awesome experience. But the games I have circled are specifically teams we lost to last year, and I'm hoping our team can get back and get us back in the win column against those teams from the previous year.
Thinking about that Friday night game against Liberty, I hope that holds whenever the schedule gets set. I think that would be an exciting one for Parents Friendly Weekend. Just thinking about that Western Kentucky game as well from last year, how big the tub was filled for that one. There's a lot of time between now and next fall, but I guess the program slogan of unfinished business, we've seen it on social media. We've seen it spoken out. What does that really mean? What really needs to be finished?
Yeah. Big thing for us specifically, like Coach Hawkins says, we're not here to go 7-6. Last year was great season for us first season, but we're not here to just go 7-6 and win a bowl game. We're here to go undefeated, win a conference championship, make the playoff, and even win a national championship. We're here to do everything possible to get us to that next step. And last year was a good stepping stone, but it's not our final product. So we want to keep going until we get to that final product for us.
Dom, thanks so much for making some time for us. excited to see how the rest of the spring goes. We'll get some fans out there soon. Dan and I are excited for the open spring practice coming up, where some family, some alum, some season ticket holders can come out and see you guys at work and what you've all pushed to. And it kind of gives a little teaser before we get to that first Thursday night in the Tub this season. So thanks for making some time for us, and looking forward to seeing what 2026 holds for the program.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys so much. And any other time you guys want to have me, by all means.
We're going to take you up on that. We're going to take you up on that. So we're excited for it. We'll pull that in to get us back on a as much of a base as we can grab you. So thanks so much, Dom, and go Hens.
Go Hens. Thank you.
Great talk with Dom. And Dan, you knew him before. That was my first time interacting with him, so it was a good time. The Trudge Mob, man. There's going to be a lot of new faces there, but he's going to be in the middle of it, being one of the returners. Like we talked about, there was a lot of 5th, 6th-year members on that D-line last year.
Yeah, I was talking to you all fair, Bryce. Like Keyshawn Hunter was such a mainstay in the middle of the line, and you get so used to seeing him out there, and very reliable and extremely gritty player, having to play that nose position that many reps. And Dom had been out there a lot too, though. And now for that next step this coming season for him, it'll be a fun thing to watch in a circle in the starting lineup, at least what we think will be the starting lineup anyway, come opening night. But things change so much, right? I mean, this competition season now is a big part of that.
Let's dive into our website again. I love the screen share. We're going to take advantage of this a lot during the season. Something I want to update, not finalized yet, but it is reported that Conference USA, Louisiana Tech may be getting close to an agreement. So on our football team page, you see the schedule up. I think we all knew at the start that this schedule maybe wasn't going to be what we're going to see. There are a couple of things, like I just said in the interview with Dom. I would love to see this Liberty Friday night game stick. I think that would be electric in the Tub. Of course, the first 4 are going to stay. So it's everything after that. We have no clue. I want the November 14th one to stick at home for my birthday. That'd be great. I think, how great that UTEP game was last year, chasing the bowl game. I kind of like ending the regular season at home too. I think it adds a little bit more juice. And Jacksonville State, they've been in the Conference USA title for the past 2 years. This tells me that the Conference USA thinks that this game could factor on who's playing in that 13th game before bowl season starts. So it'll be something to track. Of course, it's not finalized yet, but there's been some reports, and something that else will change is the depth chart. These are just we'll be building this as fall camp goes and as we get through the season, but there's some names on there that we're starting to tinker with. Dan went through the coaching staff. I'm going to go through the roster outlook at this point, and anyone on the positional listing that does not have a number is not on the spring roster. They'll be arriving in June, and they'll get their numbers then. As Coach Carty said, there's not too many on that list, though. Just a few freshmen and a transfer, Sam Siafa on the D line, I believe. So let's just dive into it. Let's start with the quarterbacks here. The quarterback room looks very similar to last year. Zach Marker transferred to CUSA rival FIU. Definitely wish him the best, unless it's against Delaware, which I guess looks like it could be on November 14th right now. Freshman Tyler Bell has been showcased for his East-West ability as a runner early in spring practice on Delaware socials. That video is hilarious. You can check it out. There's definitely more to just Tyler running in that video. The running back room also returns most of their production. It's a theme for the majority of these positions. I won't say that every time. But Kadaris Roberts from Bowling Green may have added an element to this room that was missing in 2025. Roberts has breakaway vertical speed and can basically act as a wide receiver, not just out of the backfield, like the slip screens that they sometimes use or the check down throws, but can kind of add downfield as well as a receiver from his Bowling Green tape. And he also adds an impact on special teams. And us at Feathers and Field Goals are always defenders of hashtag special teams matter. Wide receiver room, 2 talented freshmen coming in from Florida and Carson Griffin and Tayshawn Robinson. But Coastal Carolina transfer Bryson Graves, the last Coastal receiver transfer worked out just nicely, and Kyrie Duplessis, and Oklahoma State wide receiver Da'Wain Lofton. They're both really exciting additions. And both I was tracking the portal for a while, hoping that they would happen, and they did. Graves had 6 catches for 99 yards for Coastal in their bowl game against Louisiana Tech. He's going to be effective in the slot for the Hens. That's where his bread and butter was in Coastal, inside the slot. And that's a need filled on the offensive side of the ball for the Hens. The other aspects, though, he was Coastal's primary punt returner. We know Jake Thal leaving, Duplessis leaving. That's another role that needs to be filled. Maybe the two names I just mentioned, Graves and Roberts, can fill in those roles for the special teams unit. But the fun one was Graves was 4 or 5 passing last year, including a 75-yard passing touchdown and an opening drive. I think it was the first play of offense for them, a trick play. Graves ran across the backfield in motion, was throwing the ball backwards and just hit that. I guess in that point, the Z receiver wide open downfield for a 75-yard pass to start the game. So when I saw that, I had a feeling Coach Carty is going to be have something up his sleeve for Graves. If you can trust him throwing the ball, I think the air yards was, of course, wasn't 75, but it was pretty. He had some air on it. And Da'Wain, we'll talk about. He's in this episode, a great person. I think fans like very quickly had spent time at Virginia Tech before Oklahoma State. The tight end room, a lot of similarities, but I'd say the name you don't see is Connor Whittoff losing eligibility. I think the replacement for Whittoff is Coastal transfer Josh Humes, who played a lot of special teams at Coastal last season, is best known as a blocker, which is that role needed. That Whittoff did best on that line. The offensive line room added Tiffin transfer Mustafa Faika, who was a 2-time all-conference selection at left tackle for the Division II side. He was a teammate at Rakeem Romans at Notre Dame College, and I expect him to kick inside to guard for the Hens in 2026. Duke transfer Jack Small is another strong piece. He'll compete for time at tackle immediately. He had a few snaps in Duke at the end of games in 2025. I don't want to dive into the returners too much because we're going to do our positional previews as we get closer to the season. We have a lot of time to get to that. But I just have to say, watch out for Chandler Telfair. The Hens have a lot of these young, exciting pieces in that room. They didn't have to be used that much because for the most part, Delaware stayed relatively healthy on the offensive line in 2025. There's only kind of one at a time. Anwar missed a game. We know Patrick missed a couple of games last year on the line. Steven missed the beginning of the year. But besides that, there was not really need to really dive in deep into the room. And that's, of course, we know a position that isn't going to sub in and out that often, unless you're bringing a 6th guy out there on the line for those short yardage scenarios. Defensively, we just talked with Dominick on the trench mob. One of the top class of Delaware 2025 in-state recruits, James Steele, returns to the 302 after a redshirt year at UAB. Let me cover both the D tackle and D end here. And with the losses of Keyshawn Hunter and Nick Carica, like Dan mentioned, in the middle, Dominick's going to, of course, get a lot of snaps, but that's a position you have to rotate a lot. So it'll be interesting to see who's next between Dylan Mann from Troy, Quincy Smith from D2 Lenore Ryan, and Sam Siafa from Penn State, who I mentioned doesn't have the number yet, will be joining the program in June, I believe. And the linebacker room, Colin Gallagher, I expect a huge opportunity after Merge Malumba and Dylan Traynor. Unfortunately, can't suit up another season for the Hens on the defense side of the ball. I expect a big year coming for Colin and Jordan Corbin as well, who was brought in from Iowa Central the year before, which Delaware's dove into a few times with getting James Yelber back home, and of course Zach mentioned above. Jalen Bell, nicknamed the Hammer, was an FCS All-American at safety for Long Island. And Bell is converted into that bandit role. Like, we've seen a lot of safeties in this defense. We've seen the Ty Davises. We've seen the Anthony Crenshaws cut inside, and Jalen looks like they're just starting him there. And it makes sense. If you have the nickname the Hammer, I guess it makes sense to get closer to the line of scrimmage to cause havoc in the backfield, which we know the Blue Hens preach havoc on both sides of the ball. The quarterback room got a huge piece added in North Dakota State transfer Jaquise Alexander, who started every game for one of the best teams in FCS last year. For people like analytics, not just one of the best teams in FCS, but was ranked in like the top 50 in the country from of course, you can't prove that, but the analytics side really liked that team. And Jaquise played a lot of snaps. It was top 5 snaps on that defense last year. We haven't really talked about a lot of the freshmen, saving them for another time as we talked about the positional previews, but Sean Church Jr., Trenton Gummer are fun pieces in that room as well. Church Jr. from a Green Run of Virginia. has a size of 6'3", which is something the Hens haven't really had a chance to develop in the cornerback position, at least in the few years. This FBS era, the amount of athletes that they're bringing in have definitely leveled up. And thinking of athletes, thinking of speed, Keontae Jenkins feels like an addition within himself because he missed all of 2025 with a preseason injury. The safety room, the reason for the nickname, the 3 High Life, has some great freshmen as well coming in, including Middletown's Dorian Rutledge, had experience at both free safety and corner in high school. But I have to mention George Mullins from Michigan State. Mullins redshirted for the Big Ten side last year, but was heavily involved on their scout team, was part of the travel squad as true freshman, had received a lot of recognition for his work leading up to games last season for Michigan State as a true freshman. Potential through the roof, and was someone the staff already had a relationship with recruiting him out of high school in Florida. So that's why we track those hundreds of offers they make to each class. Sometimes you see those names ring a bell. And I know, Dan, when we signed Da'Wain, I think you're the first to recognize that name from the portal a couple of years ago from Virginia Tech, who visited out of Virginia Tech, did not visit out of Oklahoma State. We'll get into that in the interview, not to spoil it too much, but relationships matter. I've always said that relationships matter. Thinking of special teams matter, though. The kicker room, Nate did a fantastic job. Excited to follow his professional journey coming up. The kicker competition for Delaware in 2026 will come down to Salisbury transfer Tucker Smack and incoming freshman Kason Mullis. Smack was accurate at the D3 level, but the quantity and lengths of kicks wasn't really tested at Salisbury. The Gulls have one of the most electric offenses at D3. So either they were scoring touchdowns and it was just extra points, or they were going for it on 4th down. Not too often those situations came up. But his brother just had a fantastic season at Florida. Hopefully it continues for Tucker here in Newark as well. Josh Cupid's back from a medical redshirt season. Brendan Locke did a great job filling in for him as he recovered from the lower body injury. Was back kicking in practice. We saw him the other day, so that was exciting to see. And Maddox Sills is now the only long snapper on the roster, so we know he was out there for field goals, but I expect him to handle punts as well in those roles. So that covers kind of the 2026 roster. Dan, I've just spoke for a long time. Before we jump into our third interview, I'll just give you a chance to just give a quick thought on what you see here from. We never really got a chance to fully dive into the portal season and the high school signing season as I normally would have liked to. So I'll give you a chance. We'll talk about these guys more when we get closer to the season, though.
Well, no, that was outstanding. That was a great overview, a great dive into each room. You got us from start to finish, Bryce. That was great. One thing I circle, I guess, just as I'm looking at your scroll here on feathersandfieldgoals.com, which of course we keep plugging. If you're listening on Spotify or another audio platform, you can go to feathersandfieldgoals.com and follow along right here with the football team page with this roster we have kind of put together. And I look at tight end as you were scrolling through, and so tight end is going to look different, but I loved your definition of, hey, we do think there's a blocking type tight end successor. And then also think about Scott Moore late in the season, last regular season. Elijah Sessoms is like one of the most fun stories in terms of being a Delaware guy and also being a returner who sticks it out for an even what we think is going to be an elevated role even more. Offensive line is next to the tight ends is the other place I look just to talk about offense because, okay, so you figure out the plan at left tackle for Anwar O'Neal. But then when you said Demboski missed time last season, it reminded me that Finton Brose even played center last year, right? Like that was when Finton had to play center, if I recall correctly. I think I'm right on that, right?
Yeah, so, missed the first two games of the year, came back for that UConn game. But yeah, Finton had to step in those first two games.
Okay. Yeah. So I think about, man, like, sneaky enough, yes, it's definitely reassuring to have Dembo and Cheese, who is Kachesi, able to be back along the offensive line. But at the same time, it's like, okay, this is going to be interesting. Who gets that day one starting slot that O'Neal had, and then how do the rest of the dominoes fall from there? And you captured it pretty well, like looking out for certain names like Telfair, Roman. Again, it's very fluid, but I'm really excited about that because Delaware does not have the basic foundation of offensive success that it had without the offensive line success that we saw. And Coach Rogers, who I didn't mention on the staff before, like Coach Chris Rogers should be recognized too for that. I didn't mention him before talking about the coaches just because he's a returner, but fortunate to have him as a returner, because at some point there could be options for him elsewhere, because these guys, they have enough success and it's going to attract attention.
Yeah, and Coach Rogers always preaches, well, they don't play just, you're an offensive tackle, you're a center, you're a guard. So they're going to put the best 5 guys out on the field, the best 5 healthy guys on the field. And that's what we saw with Fitton going to center. It's like, okay, Steven's out. How can we get the next best guy out there? And it's Fitton going to center, and then you are able to fit in Kachase and Shupp at guard, and you're able to get Roshak out there early in his Delaware career to start the season at right tackle. He did a great job, and I think it's going to be we saw Anwar miss that Middle Tennessee game during Weekdays USA, and Roshak held his own in that game at left tackle. So I think that's a name to look out for at that spot, and then everything can kind of fill in from there.
I agree.
But we talked about Da'Wain a little bit. Great conversation that we had with him, and excited to now share that, where we talk about his time at Virginia Tech, his time at Oklahoma State, and why Delaware. So let's jump into that conversation with Da'Wain now. We're here with new Delaware wide receiver Da'Wain Lofton. Da'Wain, thanks so much for making some time for us here.
Yes, sir. No problem, man. I'm glad to be on the show, and just appreciative for you guys to have me on here.
Let's just set the tone early. Why Delaware for you? You spent 3 years at Virginia Tech, 2 at Oklahoma State. Why the Blue Hens to finish out your collegiate career?
I developed a great relationship with Coach Archer, Coach Dye, and Coach Carty before I even arrived. I came on a visit 2 years ago before I ended up going to Oklahoma State, so that relationship was already built and grounded. So honestly, just picked up where we left off, and they were willing to bring me in. They tried to help me get my medical waiver out, and so I can get my extra year eligibility, and they just walked through that process with me. And I was just grateful to have the opportunity to have another chance to play college football one more time, and great. I'm glad I had the chance to go do it with a great staff as well.
And it was our understanding, Da'Wain, that with that, you didn't even need to take a visit in this cycle heading into arriving at Delaware for this coming season. You kind of knew what you were getting into, it sounds like.
Yes, sir. As soon as I got the waiver approved, I went ahead and pulled the trigger to commit to Delaware, and it just felt right from the jump. And just having Coach Archer be there on my side to help me get that medical waiver really showed me that they were really interested, and they really wanted me to be on the field next year with them.
So that's awesome. And we know how a wide receiver fits in this offense. So how has Newark been for you so far? From Texas, I know you've spent a few years in Blacksburg, but the East Coast is a different beast. Everyone thinks Virginia, but Blacksburg is not really coastal unlike that. So how has the spring been for you so far in Newark?
Oh, spring has been great. My first couple of workouts were pretty good with the team. We got it into mat drills for the winter conditioning, and then we're in kind of like in the middle of spring ball, so it's been pretty good picking up that playbook and just getting to know my teammates, building those relationships on and off the field with with my team and the staff, and just trying to fit in where I can and just make myself known and help the team in any way possible.
We're welcoming you here to Delaware, but you are a veteran of the college game with your 2 previous stops at the Power Conference level. Different experiences there, I'm sure, with different coaches and styles along the way. We're curious what you've learned from those different stops that you bring with you now to Delaware.
So started my career off at Virginia Tech. Learned a lot there. Those were my early years of my career. Kind of played early on, so learned the game pretty fast and got to learn from a lot of older guys that were in the rooms. And then coming up after my junior year, ended up transferring out from Virginia Tech to go to Oklahoma State. Went there, played a few years, and learned a lot from Coach Dunn. Had a great receiver room, loaded guys like Brennan Presley, Rashad Owens, Striblin. Just had a lot of guys in that room that I can learn from and really just pick up little details off of and just add it to my game.
You talked about Oklahoma State a little bit. I know you talked about your medical waiver as well, getting it from Delaware. You've played 5 games in the last 2 seasons. Does that really light a fire to make noise here at Delaware in 2026? It's been a while since you've gotten to put on the pads for a full season and a good way to go out?
I would say it's definitely ignited a fire in me, and I've been working hard for the past 2 years to get back on the field, and I've been more hungry than ever. I had actually had my first kid, had my daughter born last year, and that was an amazing experience, and that's actually added more fuel to the fire. So I'm just ready to take advantage of any opportunity that I get, and I'll be blessed to stay healthy and just take advantage of any opportunity, man.
We're heading into the 2026 season, but Bryce and I have been looking back at 2025 for Delaware and how successful Delaware was throwing the ball with Nick Minicucci at quarterback, as he's the understood starting quarterback now. How has it been working with him and then also other QBs in the QB room in your first term here at Delaware?
I would say all the quarterbacks are pretty cool. Got in, developed great relationships with all of them, and especially with Nick. Nick hits me up on and off the field all the time. Wants me to come over, chill with him, and we'll go over the playbook, even cook, anything. It doesn't matter. He just wants me to be around and just get to know me a little bit better and just develop that relationship on and off the field so we can have that connection later on during the season. And but yeah, Nick, he's a great quarterback, great leader for the team. We've been developing that connection, that practice pretty fast, and I would say you just got to keep putting in the work, and it'll get better as time keeps going.
And as a follow-up, is there anything that surprises you about now seeing him in person, seeing how he's throwing it in person? I mean, it was one thing, the highlights and his becoming the full-time starter, but is there anything that jumped out at you more when you actually got to be in Newark rather than just seeing it on video?
His energy at practice, throwing the ball, he passes the ball very well. That's a given. But just his energy and the way he leads the team when things aren't going our way at practice, he knows how to shift the energy, get guys going, especially receiver room. If we could be 4th and 2, 4th and 3, he wants to throw the ball. He definitely wants to put the ball in the air and get it to us guys. And I feel like that's a receiver's dream. A quarterback that wants to throw the ball before taking off with it or anything, that's a receiver's dream for sure.
Da'Wain, congrats on being a father. That's a big accomplishment. And thinking about the offense and the wide receiver you are. For Blue Hens fans that do not know the wide receiver you are, how can you describe yourself on the field? There's a spring practice coming up. Maybe they're going to be able to see you there, but until next fall, how can you describe your game? Are you an outside guy? Do you like being in the slot? What kind of routes do you feel that you're best at? Just give the Blue Hens fans a little bit of taste over words before they can see you on the field.
I'm a guy that can play all over the field, and also thank you for congratulating me as well on having my
That's
daughter.
awesome.
I'm a guy that can play all over the field. I play in the slot, outside, wherever you want me, wherever you need me. I can play in inside or out, and any route you need me to run, I'll go get it executed. I feel like I run every route pretty well, and I say the Delaware fans can expect a lot of speed on the field, a lot of contested catches that I'm gonna come down with, and just going out there and competing every day, relentless effort each game, never gonna give up, and as long as I'm able to play on that field, I'll give them my all.
We often ask of players who have previous college experience away from UD what they make of what Delaware has to offer in terms of the facilities that have been put in over the years, and now the investment that's in the program, now that it's getting closer to a full FBS membership, now completing this 2-year window of transitioning up. What has been your takeaway as far as what Delaware has in terms of the campus and the athletic facilities and any other resources that kind of go unnoticed from us on the outside that you're getting to experience and embrace here in spring?
I feel like all the facilities can compete with any Power 5 conference. Really doesn't matter. The facilities when I came in, I live in the cold tub faithfully. That's my area. I'm a hydrotherapy type of guy. Training room is very nice. We got great staff in the training room. Probably one of the best training staffs in the country. And I would say all the other facilities, football facilities, practice facilities, everything is nice. Locker room is great. Equipment staff is very great, give you anything you need on time whenever you need it, especially if they have it. And I would say the indoor is pretty nice. Everything, I love the campus. Campus is nice. Anything that I've done since I've been here has been a great experience.
Dan and I were excited to see you guys in the field house. We're stepping out on the field yesterday, out on the field. So that was fun to be there for that. Da'Wain, you talked about your medical redshirt. How are you feeling health wise? Are you feeling back to normal, 110% being out on the field right now?
Yes, sir, man. I had tore my UCL and my thumb last year. Got it healed up, got the surgery, got healed up. Did my rehab, went through that, got my strength back in my thumb. So everything's fine. Been back on the field, catching the ball pretty well, and no complaints at all, man. I'm just happy to be back healthy, man.
Awesome.
We're looking more and more forward to the 2026 season, and we know Delaware's schedule. There's a conference laid out. There could be some changes on that end, but the non-conference schedule is set, and that includes a game at UVA in Charlottesville. And we're just thinking about, prior to the show, Bryce and I mentioning you were at Virginia Tech. You knew about the Cavaliers through the Commonwealth Clash. Is that one you have circled at Virginia, getting a chance to play against an ACC opponent again?
Definitely going to be an interesting game. I would say a circle for sure, just to get a chance to play against my rivals from where I started my college career. That's going to be pretty fun. And going back into the stadium and being an underdog is going to be pretty fun as well. So go in there, show those guys what we can do, and just go out there and compete and give it our all.
Da'Wain, we'll have to catch up with you before the season starts because we got some time before then. We're halfway through the spring season, but thanks so much for taking some time with us, and excited to see you in the blue and gold officially as we get closer to the season.
Yes, sir. Thank you both. I appreciate you guys having me on the podcast, and good luck to you all.
Fun interview. 3 for 3 on interviews today. An exciting show all about football. It's been a while since we had our basketball season. Now we're in basketball portal, focusing on spring sports. It felt good to, have a full episode dedicated to football again.
Yeah, it did. And Da'Wain is just going to be a star in settings like this anyway. It was great to get to meet him, for the first time in this format, talking online for an interview. And that was awesome. That was a lot of fun.
Spring practice. We talked about it in all 3 interviews, a little bit before, a little bit in between. What are you most looking out for as we kind of close out on the spring before first time, maybe the last time that we're going to see them until, I guess, August?
Well, I talked about offense with some position groups when you were breaking it down, and I was reacting to that at tight end and on O-line. I'll look at defense, and you think about at corner with Nate Evans being out of eligibility too. So like what that looks like at corner. Think about, you and I have spoken about Jamarion Calabodi and the excitement of his rookie season, but then also you've got Kayshawn out there too. You've got the North Dakota State transfer being welcomed in, Alexander. And I know you're big on Alexander too, rightfully so, Bryce. So I just think that that's going to be a group that's I look particularly because of also having Coach Kless in there in the group as a newcomer as well. I think that's something where, heck, I mean, all you're doing is seeing, different position groups kind of working on their own drills and things at times when you're visiting practice on the 18th. But it's still nice to see who's out there and, all the strong efforts being given. And if there's any kind of live periods that you see offensive defense on the same field, just how that competition goes and how that position group looks lined up, who's on the field at the same time, things like that. So I guess I'll pick out corner in particular, just because the more I reflect on it, yes, D-line with Dom, that discussion there, that's going to be definitely big to have new looks up in that position group. But I do think at corner as well, because you have multiple returners, but there is a big loss in the starting group with Evans. So you think about who can get healthy, things like that. We've touched on that. So I do think at corner it's big because there are multiple veteran safeties. So then how does the corner group complement that?
Coach Carty said it. My first thing is I want health. So that's definitely the first thing I'm looking out for.
Okay.
Everyone's staying healthy as they finish the spring season. And the next is I want to see offense versus defense battles. Give me the wide receivers versus corners. Give me the O-line versus D-line. We don't know the structure yet, but it'd be fun to see different, like offense versus defense battles, maybe some competitions. The quarterback one was fun. Let's see some kicking one, let's see all that good stuff. So, it'll just be fun to see them practice in their element on the show. And I think the players kind of get amped up for it, just a tick more too when there's more eyes on you. So let's close out on spring sports, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it. There's some big postseason pushes we got to cover here.
I want to start out with the hottest team in Newark, Delaware right now with women's lacrosse. They've won 9 straight after a clean 2-0 homestand. Their final homestand of 2026, unfortunately, didn't kind of realize that until it was done against Kennesaw State and Coastal last week. 2 wins, moving to 6-0 in the A-Sun, their first year in the conference, and 10-4 overall. The Ella Rishko is up to 40 goals, 51 points on the year, 76 draw control. She does it all. Jacqueline Marzell, Sophia Muscolino lead the team with 25 assists. Peace Muscolino, impressive being there because she missed the first 3 games of the season as well. And Jacqueline's sister Steph has been on a roll in net since the start of conference play. Women's lacrosse, you were there. How was it?
It was fun. Yeah, they're putting it together on both sides. What really jumps out is just the attack, the offense, success, scoring really well at home. And then what you're hoping is that carries over in the conference tournament, having to hit the road to the predetermined site you're going to be down south in Jacksonville for the A-Sun bracket. You just hope that it has been a homestand where a majority of games have been at home lately for the team. And so anything to kind of possibly throw a wrench in the momentum would be something of a concern. But I just think the synergy is there with the scoring of Rishko at the top. I look at it and say it should translate into the conference tournament. But there was a close matchup in particular that I think we can learn the most from. And Bryce, you have the probably the schedule and results in your split screen side. You can correct me, but the Jacksonville matchup being as close as it was, like Jacksonville and Delaware, I think those are the 2 where could they meet again in the conference tournament? Could it be in the final? And it'll be down in the Sunshine State this time if that does happen. So I think Delaware's ability to go back to war with the Jacksonville Dolphins, that could be what it takes to get an auto bid into the NCAA tournament. But love to see the build for this program in its debut in the A-Sun, because the A-Sun looked gettable from afar in terms of on paper, different ways Delaware might match up in terms of walking in the door day one in the women's lacrosse conference. But it's been a retention that we've seen for Delaware too. Like there are veteran names who are really blooming for Delaware this season. So that's a credit to Coach Altig and company there, building it to this point where they were certainly ready to try to take the A-Sun by storm.
That Jacksonville game was crazy. Delaware was up a few early. Jacksonville went on a hot run to take the lead at half, and they kind of controlled it early third. And Delaware got the lead back and had a defensive stand to win 14-13 at home. So the Dolphins' standpoint is, okay, can you do it at our home next? So, Liberty, definitely some respect. They're going to see them coming up here to end the season finale. Playing against, I believe I have the schedule up right here. Before that, they play against Queens, A-Sun and everything there. The Royals, they got their big March Madness win on the men's side. But so you have to end with those 2, keep the streak alive. Top 2 get the bye. So there's not really much difference in the first or second at this point. I think Delaware would have to lose both of them. I'm not expecting that to happen, but they would have to lose both of these regular season games to lose a top 2 seed spot, and that would have to come down to tiebreakers after that to even open the door for it. So if they win one, they have the top 2 seed. Even if they just win one of them, I think they have the 1 seed with Jacksonville. If they somehow also end up with 1 loss, they would have the head-to-head over them. Liberty with 2. So win against Queens this upcoming Thursday, then the 1 seed is confirmed. It's going to be a tough tournament, but I believe in head coach Amy Altig's side to make some noise in their first year in their new home. Let's
I didn't see this coming necessarily from the non-conference schedule. Like in terms of non-conference results, I don't think I expected this dominance to really come into form, like where you have a streak that's the longest winning streak on campus. I mean, there were definitely good non-conference moments, but I didn't see it coming. So it's been a positive surprise.
Yeah, Georgetown was ranked at 24, 16, or 18, depending on where you look before that road game in early March. So they lost 9-8, and then they haven't lost since then. So that something happened in that game. They beat Drexel the week before that, back on Flow Sports. I couldn't watch that one. But let's stay in lacrosse. The men's side, they extended their win streak to 3, upsetting UMass on the road to move to 2-2 in A10 play and 4-7 overall. Producer Brody Hamilton was there in full support, said that Hens fans traveled well to pull off the win. And what a huge win it was. We knew going in, this was kind of a must win. Every game kind of feels that way for the men's side. When you're thinking of top 4 being the number, the A sum for the women's is 6, but for the men's, it's 4. I'm thinking of players that really got going in this 3-game win streak. Keegan Lathrop scored 8 goals in these last 3 games. Colton Silverstein has taken over the reins in net, was only given up a little over 5 goals a game, including 17 saves against UMass. Doing that on the road, of course, having come down to the end and make the save as we're getting close to the time expiring, maybe overtime looming there, but shut the door on that. And Scott Connie, the freshman, we knew heading into the season, faceoff was going to be a big question mark, but in this last stand, 38-12, 76% win rate out of the faceoff group. So if you score, you get the ball back, that changes things. And we saw that in some of those losses earlier when it felt like the runs that Delaware couldn't stop on the defensive end because they kept losing the faceoff battle as well. So that's been helping them find some more momentum and hopefully finishing in the top 4 and in Atlantic 10 play.
Yeah, overall, it had been a trying year for the men's side. You think about the difficulty on the attack; it just didn't seem like the same rate of offense was there in this season. And it was kind of like, man, not the way you want to make that impression in the A10 to start it out, especially when Richmond is so strong in the A10 currently and really is a national threat in the NCAA tournament. You're thinking Delaware's just far off from that level in its first year in the conference. But then, heck, look, if you can salvage this thing where you can get into the conference tournament and just have that appearance, go 1-for-1 at a minimum, just give yourself a chance of going 1-for-1 in your first year of being in this league and getting into a conference tournament appearance. I think you would take that compared to where Delaware was early in the season. And I think Brody must have taken some magic up to Amherst because that was a great game. I think longtime followers of Delaware men's lax would think about that as like a throwback to CAA men's lacrosse battles involving Delaware and Massachusetts. So that was really big to do it on UMass's turf. It was good turnout. Looked like, and we can check with Brody on this, but it looked like it was great conditions for a spring sport contest. So it really sounded like, okay, that can be a turning point for Delaware. Huge one at home on the same day as the football practice that's opened up to all the people we mentioned earlier. You have the Bonnies coming to Delaware, be St. Bonaventure and UD. And Delaware is ahead of St. Bonaventure right now in the conference standings as we record today. So got to have that, especially at home. Got to have that to keep on the pace to sneak into the tournament, because that's what it would be. It would be sneaking in, but it counts the same way. And then at that point, you're throwing your hat in the ring and seeing if the newfound life and the newfound momentum can give you a chance to pull an upset. But credit to the guys for not like folding up shop or being overly discouraged and just hadn't taken the ball and heading home early after difficult results earlier in the year that really kind of caused attention. Like when we think about the whole year, just kind of began a little uneven with having to play indoors against Utah when it was so bitter cold, in late January, Bryce. I just think everything kind of got off to a funky foot this year for the team, and the consistency to stay resilient now and have some of those rewards come later on. The schedule kind of eased up a bit. It was a brutal schedule to start. So I think all those things combining help give some hope that Delaware can wind up backdooring this thing into the A10 bracket and maybe be a threat to pull an upset. But at a minimum, you're just trying to get in, because it would really do a lot just to have that postseason appearance on the resume and make yourself feel a little bit better about things going into next year.
The Hens, of course, they're only focused on the Bonnies right now. You win that, you're setting yourself up for what may be a playing game for the A10 tournament. The UMass game we knew was huge for a head-to-head, but St. Joe's right now has 2 losses as well in an A10 play. They've lost to High Point, and they've lost to UMass as well a couple weeks ago. They play Richmond this upcoming weekend, so if they get that 3rd loss, UMass would have 3 losses, Delaware would have 2. Which would kind of set up the St. Joe's game to be a playing game. I was going down, if St. Joe's were to beat Delaware on that kind of deadline day to give all 3 teams 3 losses, they would each have losses to High Point and Richmond at the top, and then a loss to each other. So the tiebreaker, I guess, list would go down to like the 5th or 6th option looking at, and it would come down to head-to-head in between the results in between the two. Well, Delaware beat UMass by 1. UMass beat St. Joe's by 2. So Delaware, the math is simple. You win both. You're the 3 seed. You get a chance to get an opportunity, I guess, to be on a neutral field to play against High Point, and in hopes that you can, maybe figure things out than you did the first time you got to see them. So math's simple. If they win both, we'll talk about it more if we get to that game and things we'll talk about all possibilities. So let's just win both. Another team that's playing on this upcoming Saturday, though, we talked about the football. Men lax stay for the third game on campus after that. Delaware softball, winners of their 7th straight, 2 straight CUSA sweeps, and then sandwiched in with a Villanova win. We'll always take those here in Newark. Currently tied for 4th in Conference USA at 11-7. Tied with Sam Houston, New Mexico State. The difference between second, Liberty is currently in second, and FIU at 7th is 3 games right now. A series with only, I guess, at this point, 3 series to go. So it's tight. Delaware softball probably had one of the hardest transitions in this CAA to Conference USA transition, and they're holding their own. They've really found it together. We knew that this was maybe the window where the schedule lightened up a little bit. They have a couple homestands coming up, and this is their time to put some padding with themselves higher up to the 1-2 seeds versus near that kind of that playoff line.
Yeah, you want to get away from that cut line, especially Delaware being the host of the softball tournament. It really feels like the softball tournament being at the Delaware Diamond is like a big going out with a bang in terms of the first year of being in Conference USA. It just feels so fitting, the work that's been done in the Diamond recently to get it ready for hosting an event like this. Multiple teams converging on the site, all leading up to the title game. So it'll be really exciting. And it's only truly exciting if Delaware is in it when it's hosting it. So you got to qualify, and Delaware getting that padding that you said, that's so huge for that. Think about Delaware's lineup. Yes, the sticks are there as far as driving in RBIs and putting it over the fence. Sydney Schaefer is going to go down. I mean, Sydney Schaefer is probably going in the Delaware Athletics Hall of Fame. Like when it's all said and done, I don't see how that would be otherwise. So that'll be really exciting, however many years from now, to add her to that group, because the home runs on her part, being in the middle of the order, that consistent, and she can catch, be regularly catching. Like that's just huge. And then you go from there. It's not just Sydney, the whole lineup, top to bottom. I think we've seen the depth fill out in the lineup that you and I have talked about, Bryce. But pitching was going to be the part where, okay, how do you replace Billy Kerwood in terms of that ace category? And Josie Crossman's big time in the circle for Delaware in that respect. They've rounded out the staff. It feels like they've just found more of an identity as the season's gone on. And that's big, because there were going to be some bumps. That Louisiana Tech series was a little bumpy on the road for Delaware. But beyond that, you get back home. You lean on UTEP on the road. Great views at UTEP softball, by the way. But you take wins over the minors as well, and that's where, okay, yes, there's some buffer involved in being safely in the field when you're hosting the tournament. And there's a lot of pressure for Delaware to make this tournament, and through no fault of the team's own. It's just, well, first of all, they've been good in the CAA. Second of all, they're hosting the tournament, so it's the time where, okay, they've had trouble in the tournament in the past in the CAA, but now that it's in Newark, there may be that much more comfort and that much more ability to let it rip in front of the home fans. So it feels like a huge year for Coach Steele and the staff. They deserve an NCAA postseason opportunity one of these years. They've been building toward it, and this may be the year. We've said that for a few years in the past. This is a greater challenge because the top of CUSA is that much more potent. But I think that if the team can stay focused, not look too far ahead toward that bracket that's going to be in Newark, they can really hopefully be laser focused on, for instance, like a Western Kentucky series to wrap up the regular season. That is one I have circled, playing WKU. First of all, these WKU games for Delaware are just like, somehow they've been going crazy in terms of different sports, really close finishes, frustrating finishes. So I just look at that WKU series in softball and think, yeah, this is going to be a big one to round out the end of the season. 2 teams are in the upper half of the standings.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because I have my notes. They finished the season at New Mexico State. They've done that West Coast trip at least already to UTEP. You have to do it again, but at least there's some comfort there. And like, it's a really good team, the Aggies are. And you finished the home year at Western Kentucky. And those are 2 teams you have to battle with in seeding. So those could be huge. We have Kennesaw coming up in the homestand, who are currently tied for bottom of the conference. So win that, give us a 3rd sweep in a row. Keep that 9-game win streak alive in conference. There's no midweek game, so it's just fully prepared towards the weekend, which I think that's good needed rest, because you're kind of sandwiched between 2 big West Coast trips coming up. So you need to take some You talked about the the unlucky side of in the CAA transition out. They were supposed to host those tournaments a couple times and had it stripped away with the move. They kind of were on the short end of the stick from what the CAA handles with the exit side of it. So now they get the host, and there's no really difference. I looked in seeding of being in the top 8. You're just kind of in that quarterfinal game. It's a double elimination setup. So I think what Delaware maybe needs to do different that they didn't get in those last few years in the CEA, it's just setting up your better path early. There's times where you lose a game or two early, then there's the margin for error is really slim. If you can find a way to winning the first one's always just massive. And it takes you never know what's going to happen after that. So you said it. We'll touch on it really quickly. Sydney Schaefer has been balling out, but in conference play so far, Gianna Costeras hitting 353. She's really gotten in a groove at the plate. True freshman and center Ali Nankiville has been a great leadoff hitter for them. She started the year at the 9 spot, moved up in the top. She's hitting 429 in conference play. That lefty slap hitter,
remarkable.
Finding the right spots. Katie Shivert as well. Has been killing it. She's hitting 318 in conference play. And Bridget Chapman has been a big key in their offense as well, hitting 302. And Kristen Luzon off the bench or in the game and that DP spot, hitting 273. And Maddie Diamond hitting 240, but she has been getting the ball out of the park a lot. Hitting
as advertised, right?
Yeah, hitting 5 home runs in conference play so far. One last name I'll shout out because the pitching has been great. You mentioned Josie. All 4 pitchers, Carly, Claire, Kylie, all 4 of them have 8 to 15 appearances in conference play. So they've definitely been spreading the wealth, maybe more so than they have in years past.
That's a good point.
It's been working. But the name I'll shout out is Ellie Mulligan at the plate. She is hitting 364 in conference play, and she hit 2 home runs at home against Middle Tennessee last weekend. Claire Woods, last shout out. She shut the door on Middle Tennessee to end the last game. And for those that don't know, she transferred from Middle Tennessee a couple years ago. Had to sit out last year. But that felt like a cool moment I'm sure for her to end the sweep against her former team. So excited for softball and excited to see where that goes. Unfortunately, a lot of win streaks on the spring sports side. Unfortunately, we have to touch on the streak that's not in the favor of the athletic department, and that is Delaware baseball. After a Friday night win against Dallas Baptist, the program has lost 14 straight, now sitting at 10-26 overall, last in Conference USA at 1-14, 11th in batting average, 12th in on-base percentage, 12th in ERA, and tied for last in walks against pitching in CUSA play. Last in RPI by a long shot at 260, 1-15 on the road this year. Not a lot's going right on the baseball diamond for the Hens this year.
Yeah, been a long season in that respect. I mean, you touched on the categories, Bryce, and it's hard to pull yourself out of a slide when those are the stats are just you're going up against. I mean, even if you go on a small run, those numbers probably won't improve a ton in the conference rankings. And so it's pretty brutal to take those lessons this year, kind of taking a lot of those lumps. Conference USA baseball, you think about a pretty high pedigree. Dallas Baptist will actually exit the league for baseball after this season, but it's been a tough pill to swallow. I mean, I don't know if there's any other like platitude for it. And I think that one thing you think about is where does the roster go from here? Like how many people figure, for both sides, you just think like, will people be mutually interested in transferring out? And then does Delaware have as much of an easy time trying to bring everybody in terms of, heck, we're looking to kind of retool a little bit and kind of level up to the level of comp that Conference USA is bringing. It's hard to know how that's going to shake out in the offseason. You'd like to have some continuity, but at the same time, are both sides going to want to, like, this is just one of those things where are both sides going to want to go different directions when it comes to the roster, or when it comes to coaching staff? Like everything's kind of up in the air right now, I think, in that sense, because it's just been the contrast with softball is pretty stark, right? Like, not that it's like fair to only compare just the two diamond sports against each other, but just thinking about in terms of softball had to bump up too. And now softball had different momentum going into this as well from CAA successes. So it's not quite exactly the same, but I just think about, the thing is that college pitching is so scarce. Like in baseball, think about Delaware's arms having to go against CUSA lineups that are a different breed than what you would have seen throughout the bulk of the regular season before. So I think that's where it starts for me is like, yeah, college baseball games skew higher scoring, but like at some point, like I just don't know where Delaware is going to turn to have the correct balance it needs, right? Like pitching is scarce, but then also I don't think that the depth of the lineup is there to like keep pace enough throughout the duration of a conference schedule with the number of runs that are going to be scored in CUSA. So I'm not sure. I don't have a lot of great answers here, Bryce. It's tough. Like I wish I could give a better perspective, but I think really the reality is you just look to see, in the course of the off season, what's the recruiting success look like, or like what's the next phase look like in terms of pivoting here? Because at some point you have a bulk of a sample size where like this just wasn't working, which is weird because winning over DBU at one point, you think, yeah, you can actually,
and they really should have won that series. That Sunday drop, I kind of think about, they lost Saturday, but if they could somehow get that, I guess that would have been just to cut that losing streak from, it's currently at 14. That would have just cut it to 1. If they had that Sunday win where they had the lead in the late innings, that sometimes changes the vibes around the dugout. So, I'll give you this, Dan. They play Delaware State, Dollar Dog night coming up. Right. And then after that, they play against Middle Tennessee, who also just was swept in the conference. They're 5-10. They play Liberty, who just came off a great series win against Jack State, who for a while it seemed like Jack State couldn't. I mean, they were 13-0 before that, and Liberty just won the series against them. That's going to be tough. But they on their schedule, they still have Middle Tennessee, as just said. But they also have to play 2 other teams directly above them, and FIU, who's also 5-10, and Sam Houston, who has lost 9 straight and 4-11. So top 9 of the 12, or I guess 9 of the 13, thinking of DBU in it. That Middle Tennessee looks like they're in that 9 spot right now, 4 games above. They still have the door, though, against teams that are 5-10, 5-10, 4-11. Where like basketball, when they were close to that line, I'm not writing off the season to next year yet. It all takes one game at a time. Can you beat Delaware State, and can you pull off a series win against Middle Tennessee? I think that could do a lot for a team like this, where a sport that all it takes is a momentum shift to maybe change the bats around or maybe change the bullpen around.
Hey, it, Bryce. It's a mental game, right? So it's like that's the tack that they should take. I'm thinking about the off season, which is not great. That's not the productive angle for those guys to be taken. So yeah, no, absolutely. You were at a high level player on the diamond, Bryce. So it's a mental game, and the strength of schedule that should be pointed out. It's like the strength of schedule. Sometimes it kind of stacks up against you a little. Like imagine if it had been reversed and flipped. Delaware got a chance to ease into a little more rather than the gauntlet that it's been. My reaction wouldn't be as sour. So
right.
I guess coulda, woulda, shoulda. But you make a good point. Like heck, let's see if they can take advantage of a chance to right some footing here.
Give a quick best of luck to the men's and women's tennis programs as they head to Murfreesboro for their tournament and their Conference USA tournament in the middle and end of this week. So hopefully they make some noise and hopefully bring some hardware back to Newark. So spring sports, we'll catch up more on them as we go on. I think it's time we get a head coach, some players on from the spring seasons and cover some of the good vibes going around Newark on that front right now. It's been a very busy episode, though. So from that, Dan and I, we hope to see you out in Newark this weekend. Please say hi at the football practice, the men's lacrosse game. Please come to the softball game. Go to that Delaware. It's a beautiful complex now created. So from Dan and I, producer Brody Hamilton, from the 3 of us, thank you for listening to another episode, and we'll catch you next time here at Feathers and Field Goals.